What is up, guys? This is Jake. Welcome to episode number 13 of the Warcry Games podcast.
Lucky
joining
13.
me today.
Woo!
Yeah, lucky 13. We got John. How are things doing? Or how are things, man?
Probably audio-wise better than the last two times
I heard
was on
no
this
static.
show,
I heard nothing, dude.
which is good.
Fixed it.
Yes, I fixed
Audio
it. It's
wizard.
because of the mic. You know, well, I was trying the last couple of shows I was on with you guys. I was trying to use a microphone that wasn't meant for.
Fix your shit, man.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
high quality. Only
So,
the best for
anyway.
Warcry Games.
Got a
Yeah.
returning member with Brandon. What's up, dude?
Yo, what up? What up?
And then just going through our normal routine, starting things off, we're going to talk about what games we've been playing for the past week. I'm only bringing one to the table this week.
Ooh.
Then we move on to the best bit where we go over the best home base in a video game. I'm bringing 3 for this one. But after that, we're going to talk about the gaming news over the past week, then move on to the Warcry. We're going to introduce a topic that's designed to spark debate between us. Links are going to be in the talking points in the description below. Let's talk with what games we've been playing. John, what have you been playing, dude? I feel like you haven't been on here in like a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute,
He's
dude.
got multiple
Yeah,
weeks of what he's been playing.
Yeah.
Well, I've had lots of visitors, so I had multiple weeks to actually play games, and I haven't actually been playing. Well, actually, maybe I have. Who knows? Lots of VR. Yeah, lots of VR. I don't want to repeat of that last episode where I just said I was playing a lot and I ended up playing a lot.
The whole screen was just like games that
Yeah.
he's playing. Yeah.
Well, lots of VR, so more Audica, awesome. More Pistol Whip, awesome. There's I think they added a song to Pistol Whip as well. Audica, again, awesome, solid game. I think it's taking over Beat Saber on my Oculus Quest as most frequently played. I hate to say it.
Whoa.
Yeah. I hate to say
Interesting.
it. So I
Hey,
guess
play
I
what
just
you want
like-
to play, dude. Don't hate to say it. That's not a
Yeah.
bad thing.
I guess I like guns more than I like sabers. I don't know what's going on. There's something weird going on with my Audica right now, or not Audica, my Audacity recording stream right now. But we'll just go with the flow, I guess. Okay. Hopefully my audio is not going to be screwed up this week. If not, we'll just use the Zoom chat audio. Thumbs up. I'm always having issues. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, so that's that on that front. You know, the usual COD business. Call of Duty. I did pick up. What did I pick up? I picked up the Dead Cells expansion for Nintendo Switch. Yes.
Okay.
So I haven't run into the new levels yet, but it's weird because it's been a while since I've played Dead Cells, and
Yeah.
I just forgot. I forgot how much I like Dead Cells. It's just a great because I'm a huge Castlevania fan and Metroid fan, and I like the idea of roguelikes kind of intrigues me. And I forgot like how tight the combat is in that game, how satisfying is it.
Yeah.
You play that?
Yeah, so I've played it, and I agree with you. I do love the combat. I typically love Metroidvanias. The one place where we do differ, and I really learned this after I put a good number of hours into Dead Cells, I don't love roguelikes, and it's because I hate
Really?
the sense of frustration from spending a couple hours and then having to go back to square one. Because at least in games that are difficult, like Dark Souls, you're not starting from square one. You're starting like 30 seconds outside of a boss.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing that really frustrates me. But the actual gameplay and the level design and the randomly generated levels is all awesome.
One thing I'd say with
so-
that, like with the roguelike, so you saw probably how all those things are floating above your head in the beginning. Whatever it is, that those are things that you've achieved, the blueprints or whatever that you've gone throughout the level.
Yeah.
So like whenever you start, like I start with my 2 favorite weapons. I'll start with like my frostbolt and like whatever sword or something I usually use that's really fast and causes bleeding, I think. And so like you start with something really, really strong. It lets you get a little bit further, and kind of like what John's saying is like the combat's a little bit better, tighter. I found myself on my most recent playthrough like way better than it was in my last playthrough. Instead of everyone being 10 to 15 minutes, it's like a 45-minute run. But I see the argument if it's like you're starting completely over. You got to find
Yeah.
you got to find the
Yeah,
end. I still never
I
found
get
the
what you're
end.
saying,
Probably
Brandon.
20 to 30
Yeah,
hours in.
I'm the type of gamer, and this happened to me. Another funny example, just to quickly go off topic, when I tried to play RTS games like StarCraft, because I would build my base for 30 or 40 minutes, and then someone would just like nuke me, and then I'd be like, sick. Glad I spent so
Thanks.
much time on this level. Yeah, it was one of those things where it's just I love games with a continual sense of progression, and if I don't feel like I'm improving or like getting further in the story or doing something, then it's just so frustrating. I'm just like spinning my wheels.
Yeah. Question for you guys: do you guys find use like in Dead Cells, do you use more melee or do you use more? Because for me, it's all about repeater crossbow. Repeater crossbow, and then you buff that
I was swords and grenades with my combo.
Nice.
I do the frostbolt and a sword, but usually, I always pop like the crossbow and what is it, like the discs that it would shoot out. I have one of those going each time.
Yeah.
No grenades. Yeah. Just sometimes like if like late, once you get like an hour into the run or whatever, you don't want to engage those guys, like some of the stronger guys. So I just kind of pop those two things and wait off screen.
Just like let their health go down.
Yeah, man. What else you got?
Well, let's see. Shit, I was gonna say so. Oh yeah. So BioShock Infinite.
Nice, man.
Is part of the PlayStation Plus. Yeah.
I want to get back into that too.
Right. I forgot how much I really enjoyed the story of that game and the atmosphere and everything, but a couple of things. It's just the technical aspects of it are kind of, they're starting to show its age, coming from COD, coming from like Battlefield, I expect to aim down the sights of my gun, and I can't ADS. A lot of the, you don't think it's that old of a game, and then you realize like a lot of the textures are kind of low res, and a lot of the like the polygonal models are kind of they seem basic, but then again, this is kind of like rose-tinted sunglasses, but at the time, you thought this is like the latest in gaming, and how could it ever get much better than this? So it's kind of weird. So as long as you put those aside, I mean, totally awesome game. I love the whole mechanics of it. I like the story, love the story, especially the story of Infinite. But you kind of have to just get past the technical aspects of it. It's kind of weird. PC. It's kind of sad. Yeah.
I always thought the gunplay in Infinite was significantly better than 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Personally, but
yeah. I mean, I played it 4K PC. I loved it, dude. That was like my
game of the decade.
Yeah, it was on my list. That was one of the, like, hey, I built my new computer. What am I going to throw at it? And like, I heard great things about it. It was in my library. I booted it up, threw it on 4K, played the whole thing in 4K, and I was like, man, this is good. This is pretty. But I don't know. I haven't played it on PS4 Pro yet.
I'll give you an example of what I saw. So I was walking through the streets of Colombia as one would, and and I saw like a basket full of apples, on the ground. And so I started walking. I walked towards it, and I was like, something weird about these apples. So I walked towards it. Well, it's just like a low poly dome, basically, probably more than like 4 or 5 polygons of a dome.
Yeah.
And then they painted like an apple, just
texture,
textures and bitmaps on top of it. And I kind of just go, oh no, wow, has it really been that long? Like
early gen stuff, man.
I know.
I just 2013.
It's only 2013. It didn't feel like that long ago when this came out, but I kind of just went to myself thinking, wow, it's weird that I'm noticing this now.
And how far we've come with everything being modeled, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but that's it. That's what I've been playing. I mean, if I were to add something that, just a question to you guys. I know this is kind of off topic, but I'm debating about picking up Dreams.
Man, I've seen some cool shit get created in Dreams. You guys seen the Ghost of Tsushima one?
I haven't seen it, but I saw an article for it. Yeah.
Holy crap, man!
Like creator style games. Have you played Little Big Planet, Mario Maker?
I bought Little Big Planet. I bought Little Big Planet, but the thing was that the game I wanted to create isn't like a platformer, and I've always wanted to create like a shooter, you know, kind of along the lines of
You can,
yeah.
dude. Dreams. Honestly, what I've heard from Dreams is it's basically like a game engine, but really, really user friendly.
Yeah, not programming. It's more just visually placing objects in there, and like, you know, Sony. I guess it's Sony. They're looking to recruit talent from this.
Really?
I don't know if you guys saw this, but yeah, if people are creating stuff like they or whoever was maybe Media Molecule.
Yeah, who's that? Media Molecule. Yeah, that's the developer.
Yeah.
For it.
Like they're looking to recruit people who create cool shit. Like they had Super Mario Odyssey. I saw somebody recreate the full a level in Super Mario.
I saw Peach's Castle too.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Like some of the
John, work games, man. Games.
Well, you can do a level like I did a level for Jake on Mario Maker.
I'll play it.
Feature on the channel.
Actually, you know what? Let's do it. So, all right.
That'll be next week.
I guess I'm picking it up then. Yeah.
He's in.
I'm curious about it because once I saw the Ghost of Tsushima, I was just like scrolling through Twitter and I saw it and I was like, "Oh, cool, Ghost of Tsushima." Wait, and then it looked a little off, but it looked really cool. And I was like, "What the hell?" I mean,
the graphics are definitely not going to be anything like the actual game, but it's just crazy what they're able to do.
Though, like it was close. It was like you had to do a second glance and. Like the backgrounds, the you know, like how they do
the lighting and stuff, dude. Like
no, that's what it was. Like that was really good. Like the lighting was surprising. Really? It was not until you looked real close to their faces, like you looked at some of the more simple like ground textures or something. But like I thought the lighting in the back was like super realistic. It's like wait, it looks like the pink sunset type thing going on, and
damn, that's crazy, dude. All right,
I'll probably pop something up here. You guys can see it.
That's it. That's all.
What about you, Brandon? What are you bringing?
All right. So it's been a busy week. I beat 3 different games.
Guessing Game Pass.
Yes. Thank you, Game Pass.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about 4. Actually, I'm going to talk about 3 because one I'm not even going to talk about much. The first one, I finished Metro Exodus. All of my thoughts from last week still apply. The one thing I'll mention in the ending, there is like a morality system throughout the game, and there's like a good or bad ending, which I always appreciate when games do that. Although it's like a little unclear like how that factors in, which is a little frustrating. It's like, okay, like you got the bad ending, but like why? I felt like, you know, you did things. But overall, it was like a pretty fun game. The next game I moved on to is A Plague Tale: Innocence.
Oh, I've heard good things.
This game was getting some buzz. I think it got nominated for Best Narrative at Game Awards, and I really enjoyed this game. Now, this game is kind of like, I knew I was going to like it because what it was is kind of in my sweet spot. I love those story-driven action-adventure games. And the best way I can describe it, it's kind of like an Uncharted style, Last of Us style adventure game set in like the 1300s in France during like the Black Plague. So it's kind of like inspired by all these people dying from the plague. And the one thing, if you haven't seen screenshots or gameplay of Plague Tale, the most impressive thing about this game are the rats, which is a weird thing to say. But, and I don't want to like spoil it, but I do think it's worth like looking at the rat physics and how they work. It happens like probably like the first level you see how it works. Like kind of the rats like break out of like a plague area or something. Like they come out from ground and they just like swarm, and there's like thousands of these rats running around. And the reason it's technically impressive is because there's so many of them and they like react to light and they're like moving left and right. And the rats like become part of like the puzzle mechanics. Like, oh shit, you can't go over there because there's all the rats that will like infest you and like eat you alive. So you have to go over here or like use some light to direct the rats elsewhere. And so it's interesting because I compare it to Uncharted and Last of Us, but it's more a stealth puzzle game than it is like an action game, because you're stealthing around, like avoiding guards, avoiding like you don't want to run into rats or things like that. And there are some like light puzzle elements, and you don't get guns obviously because it's the 1300s, but your main character gets a sling, so she's like throwing rocks at people. And it's cool because you upgrade different you like learn different alchemy recipes, and so you can craft like different ingredients for your sling. So you'll like rocks that are on fire, like rocks that melt armor, like all these crazy things. Although I do want to emphasize that's not a very large part of the game. It's not like you're going around like killing guys with rocks. It's more about the adventure of like going through these environments, avoiding enemies, like being very stealthy, directing light in different ways, using torches to like go through these really dark, scary tunnel areas. So I give the developers, who this is kind of like their breakout title, I would argue. I looked up their past. It looks like they mostly did kind of like ports and things like this before. And it was really impressive to see from what I imagine is like a AA budget from what to me seems like a AAA style game. Really, really impressive. The one thing I will just give them a huge nod for, narrative is really cool, but the voice acting is really well done. It's a sister and her little brother that are going through this world.
That's what I thought I remember. The trailer was that, right? It was those two walking through with a torch and all the rats are like surrounding them. I was like, I'm trying to remember what this game looks like.
That's exactly what it is. Like that, just really, really impressive presentation, going through really cool environments, great dialogue back and forth, great characters that you meet as well, really great cast that you're introduced to, so I can completely understand why this game was nominated for Best Narrative. So beat that, and then moved on to Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus.
Ooh.
So, have you guys played, not the old Wolfensteins, but the first reboot of Wolfenstein from this from Machine Games? I
think I have it, and I haven't played it.
Wolfenstein: The New Order. Okay, I highly, highly recommend playing both of these games if you guys are first-person shooter fans. And let me say, I played the Wolfenstein: The New Order a few years ago. Really impressive how much that game has a story. You think about Wolfenstein, you think like, I'm just going to kill some Nazis, right? Like that's kind of the whole point of it. Get some crazy guns, blow shit up and kill Nazis. And it's amazing that they're able to do that and have that sense of adrenaline and this awesome like blaring soundtrack. But then there's also this like really kind of poignant, heartfelt story that has some like philosophical undertones as well. Which crazy how those things mix. You think like that makes no sense. You can't have a heartfelt story and then fucking kill Nazis with grenades. Wolfenstein 2, that's all present in the first one. Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, the one I just finished, might be one of my top first-person shooters I've ever played. This game is stupid fun, and I really want. If you guys play it, I really want to have like an in-depth discussion of some of the set pieces because
you playing on PC?
PC Game Pass, it's absolutely insane. Some of the like crazy set pieces and scenarios that they put you in. If you've seen the trailers or gameplay, I can't spoil anything because it's so worth experiencing firsthand. But the one thing that they've shown in trailers is like, so it's set in an alternate history where the Nazis actually win World War II. And so you're going to America and you're seeing the Nazis have like taken over like New Mexico, or like, so you're in like a New Mexico city, and it's like Nazis are like all running around, and all the Americans are like trying to learn German because they're like now taken over by Nazis. And it's crazy, like the different environments and all these things. But then you have all this like really cool set piece, all this dialogue, all this narrative, and then you go into an area where like dual wielding, shooting all these crazy things, laser guns, like crazy grenades blowing up left and right. It's this crazy mix of narrative and gameplay. It just like somehow works because it's so quirky. Yeah, BioShock Infinite, but the difference is like it's the tone, right? BioShock Infinite is a good example of like a good mix between narrative and gameplay, but Wolfenstein is so like, I don't know how they do it. They make it really funny, and then they also make it like, oh, that's like kind of an intense subject matter. I would argue BioShock Infinite is like pretty philosophical throughout and like pretty serious throughout, but Wolfenstein is like some guy just blew up and you're like laughing your face off, but then it also talks about like, oh, how would Americans live if like Nazis took over and like the KKK was still rampant and all these things that are like, that's a pretty serious subject matter. But let's go back to blowing Nazis up. It's hilarious, right, guys? I've never, honestly, it's probably the best example of a game juggling those two concepts that I've seen in recent memory. Just really impressive. And the thing, probably my favorite shotgun in a video game, my combo, so you can dual wield weapons in this game. So I have in my left hand this like machine gun pistol that's just like a crazy, like really, really, really fast rate of fire. And then this shotgun that has like 6 chambers, I think. So you're just shoot, 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 shoot. And it's like absolutely insane how crazy, because you can get up to like Nazis and you're just like both triggers at once. So it's like machine gun, just like shotguns like blowing people left and right. Just absolutely insane, high adrenaline, going through really, really fun, varied environments. Again, I don't want to spoil stuff, so if any of you guys play these games, just like how crazy some of the places you go, it's like batshit insane, and they do a really good job of mixing up environments.
So I've played the first 45 minutes, B-Ray.
Of 2 or 1?
2. And
okay,
so I agree 100%. Like, it's really weird how awesome the narrative is.
Even the beginning of it, the flashback stuff, you're like, whoa.
Right. Like when you're hiding in the closet.
Yeah. Father.
And I'm like, oh God.
I played the first little bit too when you brought it to work.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a problem. Like, the problem is, I think for me, is the platform that I played it on, because I borrowed it from the library for the Switch.
No, play it on PC, dude. This is a game that you need a mouse and keyboard. And I've actually seen some reviewers kind of complain about like how difficult the game is without a mouse and keyboard, which, I mean, I cruised.
Right.
It was like perfectly. I think I did middle of the road difficulty, and I can see it being difficult if you can't like spin around and like kill things quickly.
I agree. I mean, like, well, from my perspective, I'm a frame rate whore, and
don't play on the Switch.
The thing just chugs into the teens on the Switch, so
it's one of those games that's even surprised like it's on there, but
I mean, if
it's not going to run great, but
if it's the only way you can play it, fine.
Yeah.
But guys, like, I'm telling you, this game is such a treat on PC, and
do I need to play 2 or 1 to play 2? Or
so here's the thing, like, you'll probably really enjoy without playing 1 if you're a story whore and you like really want to appreciate, because if you played the first 45 minutes, there's a choice in the first 45 minutes where you like pick one person or another
you can
person.
choose one person. Yeah. Who to die,
so
right?
like that all happens in the first game, so I guess you've kind of already like know what happens in the first game, and it kind of recaps it in that intro video which you saw. So it does a decent job of doing it, and like a lot of the side characters are from 1. It's not required. I appreciate it because like the guy I chose, Fergus, is this like hilarious Irish guy who was throughout the first game, and he comes back in the second game because you like chose him to live, right? And so I appreciated like a lot of those callbacks and like the Anya and all the stuff from the first one. But if you're just there to see like the crazy set pieces, the awesome gameplay, and still have somewhat of a narrative punch, you don't really need to play the first one.
How long is each game?
Okay. So the first one's probably 8 to 10. I clocked my playtime for the second one. It was 10.5 hours, including, I think I did like 8 or 9 different side missions. And what's cool about this game, you can kill, this is in the first game too, but there's these commanders throughout a level. And so it's cool because if you can actually play this game stealthy, which is crazy to say. I like guns blazing, but there actually are some environments where it does make sense and it's actually fun to do stealth. And so what's awesome is you can go and stealth through the environment, and if you kill a commander before he sees you or like people start shooting at you, then it stops the reinforcements, and the level plays completely differently, because if a commander calls in reinforcements, like all these different areas open up, all these different enemies come from like completely different directions, and like some places aren't even accessible unless reinforcements come, because those doors don't open. So it really mixes up the level design if you play it stealthy. And obviously stealthy,
cool.
like, again, this game, it blows me away how well it's able to balance multiple things, because like I was just telling you, it does a great job of balancing narrative and gameplay, balancing humor and poignancy. It also does a great job of balancing stealth and like balls to the wall action, which is again kind of a crazy thing to think about, that it does all of those so well in one game. So highly recommend. One of my favorite first person shooters after playing it, up there with Titanfall 2. Just an absolute joy to play. And then the last game I played, probably 2 to 3 hours today, of the new Fire Emblem Three Houses DLC, which just dropped, the Kindred Shadows, I think. Kindred Shadows, yeah. Liking it so far. It's definitely more of the same Fire Emblem Three Houses. So What's cool about it is it is very much like a side story, so it doesn't really like interrupt the big overarching plot of the main game, which is kind of nice because that kind of like ties up with a bow depending on the path that you pick, right? And so this is kind of like, hey, you go underground kind of in the early years of the main game, and you find this other house, and it's cool because you're playing with all 3 house leaders as well, so it's nice to finally have Edelgard, Claude, and Dimitri on the same team. But more of the same, really enjoying the past few hours.
Dang, dude. I'm bringing exactly one game, and it's the only thing I've been playing, and every now and then I'll think about like one of the other games to boot up or something. Normally I bounce back and forth between a couple, but my gaming times, yeah. So it's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That's the one. But as of this morning, 6 o'clock this morning, I finished it, beat it. It's done.
Whoa!
The main story.
Nice.
Busy guy. There
56 hours of gameplay, and I think it's probably, I have to check how long to beat. It's probably like a 40-hour game if you just go through the main mission and kind of casually. But I did a lot. I did any single side quest I could ever find, which you'd be surprised. There's a lot. Like every now and then you'll beat the main section of the game, and then you go to check your map, and there's a lot of these little blue exclamation marks. You can start their side quest things. I did every single one I could find. When you beat the game, and it puts you back into the game to basically, hey, I want to get stronger, and you can choose a roster of any of the characters to play as that you can play throughout the game. You can choose any of those characters that you want, and then a ton of different support characters open up, and then I just saw like 20 new side quests got added, and I just kind of scrolled through the list, and I was like, I'm super excited to play through some of them. I was like, oh, they did include this person. Oh, this thing's happening, and so like there's a lot of kind of post-game content for you to do.
Have you seen the
DLC?
The leak of the DLC?
So that's it's actually not leaked. Bandai Namco
they confirmed it?
Yeah, up on Twitter. So I saw the leak like a week or two ago where they saw like the character models in game, but then Bandai Namco, they submitted a picture on Twitter. It was 4 different pictures, which was weird. And they're like, "Hey, you guys ready for the upcoming DLC?" 3 of the pictures they showed were actually already side quests that were in the game, and I knew that because I've already beaten those side quests. I'm like, why the hell are they showing this? But one of them was Beerus's planet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, the super stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of super stuff. That's end of Z territory.
Oh, because Battle of Gods.
Yeah, because that's the last second to last Z movie. Same with the Resurrection of F, but then they adapted it into the super like arcs, like in the beginning of like Super.
Do you think they'll do like Future Trunks and like Tournament of Power stuff?
See, the thing is like it's titled Dragon Ball Z Kakarot,
yeah.
So I could see them not doing it, but at the same time, like they did find a character model for like Super Saiyan God Vegeta, which the only time he came in was like Broly, like So I don't know if it's just
it's Dragon Ball Super Broly, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't really know, but so this thing is cool. That's coming down the pipes. They're like at first the first second I saw that, I thought it was one of the early movies like Tree of Might. Because I just saw like the angle of the tree, and when you zoom in, it's like, no, that's Beerus's like planet, the one that they showcased with the Battle of Gods. But looking forward to that. The bigger thing I'm looking forward to is whatever the hell is going on with the time machine. Because even like late game, like they tease it, like, hey, this feature's coming type thing, like this time machine, and I want to know. I'm assuming it's going to be you go back in time and you can redo quests. I'm assuming,
or my boy Trunks go in the future.
That would be awesome.
Do you just crush my dreams now? Do you get to kill the androids in Cell as future Trunks in the future?
You don't.
Yeah, I needed to crush them.
And see, that's the thing that sucks. Like I was talking about like a little bit of negative things last time. There's a lot of little things they skip, and it's not just like skip, but like say that sequence. I'd have to remember if
that's such a small thing. Like I didn't expect that, but that's like my favorite thing because he's like so powered up. He's like learned how to go crazy Super Saiyan. He's like, you know what? I'm strong enough to beat these motherfuckers now. And so it's like such a cool.
It gets like a dialogue box. It's like, hey, Trunks goes back and takes care of things or something.
Nice. Yeah.
Come on, man. I wanted to play that. I wanted to go back. So something that they did do that I really liked is, so say Ultimate Gohan, once he comes, like once Gohan comes, you are super OP. So you face off against Boo, like you wreck him. It's not like it's not like a normal thing where it's like, no, you might no, if you're like in the anime, if you're this much stronger than this guy and you go in
Wreck
there,
him.
he gets wrecked. You know, there was
I
like
love
no
that.
challenge. I think I killed him in like 5 seconds, and
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I actually really appreciate that.
yeah. So stuff like that, I did like. Most games, it's like a cyber. Well, even in this one earlier on, a Cyberman may take you out, and I'm like, oh, I'm a Super Saiyan at this
Cyberman.
point.
Yeah,
I just did a side quest where Cybermen's they get super powered, so they have this aura of like Super Saiyan on them, and it's because they ate a sensu bean, and apparently that doesn't interact well with their anatomy.
Weird.
It was very, very weird, but it was funny because it looks like Super Saiyan, like Cybermen running around.
Cool, dude.
But yeah, I would say like my overall opinion, I think this game is like a 7.5 out of 10. It's like super average. For me, it's like a 9 out of 10. But you have to be a Dragon Ball Z
you got to be a
fan.
Yeah, you got to be a
Yeah.
fan to appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet like
That's most Dragon Ball games.
Yeah.
Maybe Fighters.
most anime games, like the majority. Well, yeah, Fighters is different. That'll appeal to like a wide audience. Like anybody who's a big fighting fan, John likes fighting games. Like he can just boot that game up, play it, and he can jump in. A lot of people play Fighters and they don't know anything about Dragon Ball. They're just like, oh,
that's probably the biggest exception. But every other Dragon Ball game.
Right,
yeah.
right. I have to add like that's primarily the reason why I played Fighters was because I wasn't a fan of Dragon Ball, but I'm a fan of the developers that made it because I love the Guilty Gear series. I played Blaze Blue, so just to see them make a Dragon Ball game. I mean, it's cool that they have the Dragon Ball characters, but I'm really playing it as if it was like the next Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Right,
Anime
guys,
Fighters, man.
Let's move on to the first bit of the podcast. Best bit with the following question. What is the best home base in video games? Brandon, do you want to start?
Sure. So I got a couple honorable mentions. First one I'll say is Majula from Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls games typically have really cool hub areas. It started back in Demon Souls, and there's been really cool interactivity. And what I love about the Dark Souls and Souls games is that when you meet a lot of NPCs out in the world, they come back and kind of join the camp. So it's an ever-growing environment. And something about Majula is just the Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 and Demon Souls have cool environments, but Majula specifically is just a really cool setting because you're out on the edge of a cliff overlooking this giant ocean, and it's just like really beautiful, like the setting sun, and you can kind of see a lot of the different environments as you look around that you're going to go to. And again, like any good hub world, there's a lot of like little secrets and hidden areas and like little places that you can go. So did want to give that a nod. My other honorable mention is Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. This game has a big
home base.
Yeah, big mother base building component. And it really started in Peace Walker, but Peace Walker is more of just like menus versus Metal Gear Solid 5, you can actually run around it. So I give it a lot of credit for the fact that you can expand it and go back and you can go to all these different areas. I can't give it my number one because it's not a very exciting place to look at. It's pretty drab. You're it's kind of just like an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean, which makes sense like plot wise because it needs to be kind of like isolated from everywhere else. But it's not. You go back to it, it's just like a bunch of like octagons standing up. It's inspired by the big shell environment from Metal Gear Solid 2, which is also like not the most exciting area to go through. But
here we go.
My number one home base has definitely got to be Assassin's Creed 2. So what's awesome about Assassin's Creed 2, if you guys haven't played it, you have your own villa. It's basically your own little city, town area attached to a castle that's yours. And what's crazy is you can upgrade the villa, you can build new shops, and more NPCs just come and start living in your little area. And it's like clearly your home base because you don't really have like missions in there. You're just coming back and you can go to like your own little room. And it's really cool because there's all these hidden rooms throughout the castle for like your armors and the expensive art pieces that you can buy and collect throughout the world. And it's just a crazy awesome example of a place that you continue to build up throughout the course of the game. And it makes sense from a gameplay perspective also as well. I mean, it's your castle, and then you're renovating the villa, and as you put more money into it, the villa actually makes you money. So you're like hiring all these people to be armorers or artists or whatever, and they come to your villa, and then you get more money over time as you're building your villa up that you can then use to build up the villa or like buy more weapons and buy more armor.
Like Fable,
really,
dude.
really beautiful. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, didn't Fable have like a home system like that?
It
Jake?
did. Like you can purchase property in it, and then like later Fable 3, you can become like the king of the kingdom. That's like I think it even shows it on the box, and then you can purchase a lot of property, and it's actually time based off your system, so people would fuck with it back then. Adjust your clock, and now you're like a billionaire. And but it was really, really cool because that's the same thing Brandon was saying, was like, over time, the more stuff you own, the more money that's coming in your pocket. You're just exploring the world, and you're just saying, chink, this dropped into your account.
Yeah.
This dropped into your account.
I think the thing just that really cemented it for me is just like, it really, all these different NPCs that came and started living there really made it feel like, wow, I'm rebuilding this area. Like, this is my home, and I'm doing a lot of investment and work to make it my home. It's really, really cool.
I'll give my 3 real quick. So my final one's actually similar to yours. Different game completely, but similar reasons. But sticking with the DBZ theme, I'm going to go with this game, Dragon Ball Z, Xenoverse 2.
Canton City.
Yeah. So Canton City, I actually really like that. It's the first game. So I played the first game, Xenoverse 1. It was shit. It was very segmented.
It was shit.
Yeah, it was like... So in that game, your home world was, if you wanted to move into the next section to do the training side or the battle side or whatever it is, like you had to go into a loading screen to get into that area. And it was very segmented by loading screens to get into each little area in the home world. It wasn't very like intuitive. I hated that. I remember really being upset about that. It was just like a small thing. The story itself is Dragon Ball, so I love it, but that little home world sucked. Canton City was completely different. It's like, it's got its own home. It's kind of like the Dragon Ball world created in this little enclosed, encapsulated area where you can go to like this recreated Planet Namek or Goku's house or the World Martial Arts Tournament area, but you can fly around in this area. So it did it really, really well. Obviously, Kakarot does it way better. It's not a home base; it's just the entire world they created in Kakarot. But I really did appreciate that. I did like it. I remember that was the first thing that popped in my head. This is just like an honorable mention. Next honorable mention, bringing it back old school, Diablo 2.
Oh.
So I don't know if you guys have played Diablo 2. Maybe not.
No,
at a friend's house,
3?
but
no.
Only
So
3. Yeah.
Your main, the hub area is it's called the Rogue Encampment. And the thing I liked about it more than so it feels like home. I put so much time into that game.
Yeah.
Like, I know every little square inch of that. I know where like the wood posts are. I know where like, all the different NPCs are, like Ankara or whatever, the Charcies, the blacksmith and all that. But you have like your standard quests, like givers, your blacksmiths, potion shellers. You have a gambler for like your gold dump. It's got a really cool waypoint system, which, it's just like 20 years ago. That was pretty cool to have. Like, you discovered an area in the game, you could always like teleport to that area. Something I really liked was the camp itself is a safe haven. So like enemies can't come into it. You can't get killed by like another player inside your camp.
Right.
Like, you can heal there. Like, it's definitely like your little hub world where it's like you're safe. And the reason I mention that is like, the big thing everybody did back then was, and this is back like 56K modem times, dude. Like, this is so take this with a grain of salt, but we would PvP out. The moment you walk outside the encampment, that's where everybody would duel. Everybody. You'd get your barb, I'd get my sorceress, we'd go run out there, I'd hostile you, you'd hostile me, and we'd just attack each other.
Right
the whole
away.
thing, yeah. And so that whole home, like the hub area was like that. Like, everybody would just spend time there. Like, you'd go out and do your quests and level up and whatever, but to test your skills, you go back to your home world, you get your potions ready, you get like ready to go, and your goal was to keep your ear, because if you die, if somebody kills you, they cut your ear and you can keep that little ear in your inventory. Like, hey, I killed this fucker, level 87 barbarian.
That's nasty, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Diablo. But So that's another honorable mention. My number 1 is going to come in the form of this Switch game that I played, East 8.
Wow, dude, you love this game.
I do.
Yeah, you must
So,
really like the game now.
so the reason I like the hub area so much, very similar to like Assassin's Creed 2, like what you mentioned, the more. So I'll give you background on like the story itself. They're at the very beginning of the game, so it's not spoilers. Like the moment you boot up the game and go a couple minutes into it, your ship crashes, and the whole rest of your gameplay is spent on this island. It's a cursed island. It's known as the Isle of Saren, and your goal is to build a boat and leave the island. That's like the bread and butter of the game is, hey, we're crashed. We have to get off the island. But then there's a lot of mystery behind it. Like there's something very unique about this island. The further you explore into it, the more like mysteries start to like unveil themselves. You start to learn more about like an ancient civilization. Long story short, the big thing is you start with just a couple of characters, 2 or 3 characters, and you start with like this home area that's like a campfire. And as you go out and explore, like I go into the section, I defeat some monsters, I go up against the shore, and I see like a new character. You bring them back, and they serve a purpose in your camp. So, you won't have access to a blacksmith until you go find the blacksmith, wherever the fuck she is, and bring her back, and then now she's part of your camp. Same with the healer, same with the person that does like tailoring, and like every single person that has a purpose is out there waiting to be discovered. You find them, they come back, and they also build like their own little section. So now the tailor shop is functional and it's dressed up. You can see like the booth that's there. The blacksmith, she's got like hammer and anvil. She's got like her smithing section set up. The more that you bring it back, the more developed this little community looks. You go from having this campfire to this like full-on fortress. I wouldn't say like, concrete walls or nothing. You have like wooden stakes and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And reason being is there's like random raids happen all the time throughout the game where like monsters come up against you, like your encampment. The more that you've developed your encampment, you put those spikes up, you put the traps up, you do everything you can to kind of make your encampment more safe. The better chance you have of like fending them off. But that thing I really, really liked was just this: you go out there and explore, you bring them back, and then they build their little section. They're like, hey, I just imagine you're shipwrecked. You're on an island, you're lost, somebody finds you, you get into this little corner of your own world, and you kind of carve out a section of yourself. You're just like, okay, I'm going to put, I specialize in like potions. I'm a doctor. I'm going to create this little bench. I'm going to have a little alchemy lab behind me, and I'm going to, this is going to be me. And a side tangent about that game, something cool is if you want the true ending, the full true ending, you have to do almost all of the side quests. Like it's some ridiculous number. Like I just did them all, but you have to do like almost all the side quests of every side character to get the true ending, which you want in that game. And it really helps you get to know those characters like a lot better. Yeah. So it just kind of like, say, Fire Emblem, in a similar vein, where like the more you do these little side quests, you're like, oh, this person has a motivation for X reason to do this thing.
Right.
It just makes it makes that little encampment feel even more homey. Like I know these people. Like I know the people that are floating around here.
Dude, I gotta play this game.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah,
Naturally,
it
I was
like,
recommended. But I did write something specifically here for John. So. This, because I know, like you said, you're a frame rate whore, you're a graphics whore. If you play it on the Switch, there is going to be a downgrade. Like, the thing I noticed, and it doesn't bother me at all, but like, say you're looking off in the distance, the draw distance is there. You can see further off, but the enemies are going to look like they're like until you get close.
No. Maybe.
But
to play it on PC or console.
But see, that's the thing is like once you get up close and you battle them, it's an action RPG, so it feels super smooth. And it's like I think that's the sacrifice they made is like your combat when you're up and close, because that same guy that you see from far off, the closer you get, the more he's just moving naturally, like we'll just say dinosaur or crab or like whatever. And that combat's going to be fluid. But then the texture of the grass, maybe it's going to look like your apples in Bioshock Infinite. It's not going to be as nice as like PC. Yeah. But for me, I mean, it didn't make or break the game. It was just a component. You're just like, oh, okay, so it's a less powerful system. I'm glad I can play it portably. But
yeah,
I keep hearing solid things about this game. I mean, from other projects too. Yeah, well, most from Jake, but then like it keeps getting
I'll
like
keep going to
affirmed
bat
in
for
other
it, man.
podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
what about you, John? What do you bring in for best home base?
So before I start my honorable mentions, I'm surprised you didn't choose Fable.
So
yeah, I know. We talked about it.
Yeah. And as much as you like that game, but then again, you like East just as much as Fable.
Yeah, like I would say, I don't know. I didn't know if that. I guess you can consider that a home base, like the little kingdom that you're building, where you're just purchasing homes and stuff. Like it's a little city, but okay. I guess once you progress far enough in the game and you own this segment, like I guess it would be considered your home base. But
yeah,
it's a little bit different. This is like it felt like Holy Mine.
Okay. So just a couple honorable mentions. First, I agree with Brandon. Like, Metal Gear Solid 5. I was gonna say 6, but that dream's never gonna happen.
Yeah. No problem with that.
Like for all the same reasons. You see your base grow. You fill it with people. You fill it with, literally people. Because like if you capture, when you capture the goat, what do they call it? The ghosts. The yeah. And you can see them in the cages, and you see them like walking around. But you're right. There's absolutely like zero reason for me to just go around and admire my work because it's kind of a bland atmosphere. The other honorable mention I had was Destiny 2. The tower is like kind of edit for exactly the opposite reasons of Metal Gear Solid 5. It has awesome atmosphere, but you don't see it grow because Bungie kind of just adds to it as they please. And then if there are events that go on, they'll obviously change the tower up. But it has a really cool like atmosphere. Most of the time during the game, you're out either by yourself or with other guardians. But this one, you actually see like what normal people would be doing in this world.
Cool.
I'm sad because I don't really play Destiny 2 all that much anymore, and I wish I can get back into it. So but my pick for best home base is actually another game that I stopped playing a while back. It's Final Fantasy 14 Online. Now, it's my favorite home base because there isn't a traditional like home base that you're kind of like shoehorned into. Like the developers say, this is your home. You choose your home. So when you create a character in Final Fantasy 14, you have to choose one of 3 cities to establish kind of like where you're going to be from, basically your hometown. But it's more, instead of actually having characters, come into your town and then you see your town visually grow, on some sort of like inner level, as you progress on with your character, as you level up, as you do different things in the game, you go on quests and things like that, it feels more and more like home because of the amount of time that you spend in it.
Sure.
And the things that you do in it. So, people that are from another city like Ul'dah versus I forgot the name of it already. Something Lominsa. Anyways, that was my home. But you can't relate to what other people's homes are. Everybody has their like own home, even though like physically, within the game world, they all look the same aside from Quest. Like you kind of just think, oh God, you go around and go, yep, I know that tavern, I know that bar, yep, I know exactly where to go when I'm in this home world. So it's more organic, I think, in that sense. But again, this is another game that I stopped playing, so I'm kind of sad that it's not. I'm not there. Anyways, that's it.
Nice, man.
Cool.
All right, well, let's transition into the gaming news segment. Let us open the floor, chat a little bit about what's been happening for the past week or so. First thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you guys have been following it, but up for auction is the Nintendo PlayStation. This is a piece of history, guys. It ends in 11 more days. Current bid is sitting at $300,000. And with the...
Is it still Palmer Luckey? And
the last I saw was him. Yeah, I don't think it's gone up since he made that tweet.
All right.
The buyer's premium, it comes out to like $360K though. Actually, $60K just for... Yeah, but yeah. What's your thoughts, John?
Here's my thing about this thing. Why are you buying this? It's just to become like a museum piece or something to display, right? Because you obviously can't play anything on it aside from, I think from what I've heard, you can still play Famicom games on it.
Yeah, but not the CD-ROM. It's not functional by itself.
The CD-ROM doesn't really play any. There's no games that were made for it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like a piece of history. It's like, why do you spend $500,000 on art, right? It doesn't do anything, but it's got an aesthetic pleasure. So it's like, that's what I'm looking at the purchase. He's not purchasing to play it. He's purchasing it to like preserve it and make sure that for like generations to come, it's like in working condition.
So is he gonna put it in like its own museum? Is he gonna make a museum? Is that his?
He said he's got like some state of the art video game preservation thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about it.
As long as it's gonna be like open to the public, and because I have a very like Indiana Jones
belong to the museum,
right? So like, I mean, it's for, if somebody buys it, like my worst fear for this Nintendo PlayStation is that somebody's gonna buy it and keep it in the private collection, and nobody's gonna ever see it.
I think that's why he said he wanted to buy it, was like for that reason. Like
to prevent that from happening. His
tweet was originally like, "Hey, you know, who else has bidden against me?" And then in a follow up, someone was like, "Well, why the hell are you spending this much money for it?" And his reply was like, "Hey, you know, I'm a video game, say connoisseur or whatever. I want to make sure that this thing is usable for generations to come. This is the only one that we've seen that's come forward. It's just a prototype, but I think he wants to take this thing and create, like, say, a digital version of it so that it's always like, you know, available. Or I don't know if he's going to open up so anybody can just come in and like play with it or whatever. But I mean, he's the founder of Oculus. So I'm guessing some type of virtual reality type thing is what he wants to integrate with this, like take the software or something from it. I don't know.
Can we just sit back for a second and then think what could have been
of Oculus?
Sony and Nintendo.
Honestly, I think it's been good for the industry because we wouldn't have a third console.
Yeah,
that's true.
I always think competition leads to better productions.
Yeah,
Nintendo, I think, was just being greedy. Went about it too. Well,
because then they were gonna work with Sony, and they're like, just kidding, we're gonna go with Philips.
We can do it way better without you. You know, we don't need this. And then now they're like, Sony's the market lead 20 some years later.
That's what happens.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Nintendo PlayStation. I think there's 0 games for the CD-ROM portion, but like you said, I think the Super Famicom. There was a YouTuber that actually fixed the CD-ROM. Some guy just found the shit in his attic, and he turned down like a offer for like 1.2 million. So we're gonna see if this thing even gets up to that. It's been stagnant for the last like 5 or 6 days.
1.2 million, jeez.
Yeah, because he thinks it's gonna get to at least something above that. But a YouTuber actually went in, opened it up, and fixed the CD-ROM so that it was usable. But again, like John says, is like, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing created for it to play anything.
Just a prototype.
Talking about Nintendo Direct, Animal Crossing. You guys picking this thing up? Game coming out March 20th.
Oh, is it March 20th?
Wow. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
I had good experiences with the DS version. Was that New Leaf? I forgot.
Yeah, DS version I think was Wild World.
Or Wild World, yeah. I had good, and then I tried to play the 3DS version.
That was New Leaf.
And I was like, that was okay. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I've had really good experiences with it, and then I've had not so good experiences with it. It depends on the game. Isn't this supposed to be? Is this the one that's on an island?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm gonna wait and see kind of thing with this.
Yeah, I've never played an Animal Crossing game. I'm kind of the same mindset as John, where I'm actually somewhat intrigued because I feel like I could enjoy it. I know it's a different style of game, and so I'm willing to give it a chance. I don't think it's a day one purchase for me, but if it really gets high reviews, there's enough buzz, and I feel like there's a lull in games that I'm playing, I'll probably pick it up.
Dude, that game never ends. So like, if you pick that up, it's like that's a commitment.
Yeah, but I think the difference is you don't play it for 40 hours. You don't play it 10 hours a day. You play maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, and then you're like, all right, kind of move on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could see myself doing that.
It does a really good job of like making the mundane feel like special, you know.
Right.
I never thought that planting trees and then growing pears and shit or collecting bugs would be fun, but it is. Like I remember in the 3DS version, I created my own grove of trees, and then I would just wait till those fruited, and then sold those apples for bells. You know, I had my own like small business.
Have you played, John? Have you ever played Harvest Moon or
no
Stardew Valley?
Stardew Valley?
Stardew Valley? Yeah. Either of those?
No, is it like that?
Yeah, I mean, I played Harvest Moon games when I was a kid, and I think I probably put like 10 hours into the GameCube one, and I just was like, I don't know, this like 10 hours is still a lot of time, so I guess I enjoyed 10 hours of it. But I tried to play the Game Boy one. I was like, this is the same game, like, but in a portable version. I guess I wasn't ready for that. I didn't expect it to be that slow as a kid. But maybe as an adult, maybe I'd appreciate it more. And like, I think Animal Crossing does have a slightly different tone than Harvest Moon. So again,
yes,
I think
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think that I think what sets this apart from the others. I mean, I've never played the others, but what actually appealed to me, because if I talked to myself and I told myself, "Oh, hey, you're going to be collecting bugs and growing trees and just cleaning up your house and customizing it," I would have thought it's the most boring game ever.
right.
Coming from a guy who loves Death Stranding.
Yeah,
I know.
right?
I was waiting on it. Dude, you haven't brought Death Stranding for a while. Like, is that done? I just remembered, like, that wasn't in your list this week.
I'm on the last delivery.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the last delivery, and then I'm gonna. Like I said,
He's holding it off. He doesn't want it to
Last
end.
delivery. Maybe I can go collect this bug off this tree. Or
No, but like, okay, so Death Stranding is actually. I mean, Death Stranding is fun in that, like, the deliveries that you do. There's fun things to think about, you know, and how you make your deliveries. But anyways, that's another conversation. So, it's just the presentation that Nintendo has, like the whole cartoony, cutesy, you know, like the bubblegum aspect to their approach to this like town economy simulator.
Right.
That I guess makes it appealing. So who knows? That's why it's important to see what this game is like first when it comes out before I make a judgment on it. Because if it's just more of the same and they don't do much to improve the atmosphere of it or whatever, it might not appeal to me. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't played any of them, so more of the same would still be novel to me.
Same with me. Like, I watched the whole direct, and because like it gets a lot of hype. This has obviously a huge fan base. You know, they're coming out with a limited edition console for it. So they've only done that a couple of times, like the Let's Go series. They did it for Diablo. Just a couple of systems that they've made for it. And I'm like, why is this so popular? I'm watching this thing like with a critical eye. I'm like, why do people like this?
I think the problem, Jake, is if you're not already an Animal Crossing fan, I did end up watching the direct. The direct is not going to make you one.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a game, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, you really need to play it to appreciate it.
Yes.
You can't just watch it.
I mean, the same can be said for like their Pokemon Directs or their Smash Brothers Directs.
Yeah, but I think the difference is you can watch a Smash Brothers Direct or Pokemon Direct and understand why it's exciting, right? Animal Crossing, like, it's basically just like glorified patch notes, which is what it was. It was like, oh, here's this new thing from the old one. Here's this new thing that's it's different from the other old.
That's how I feel about Smash Directs, though. I'm with John on that. I see Smash, and I'm like, they get so excited about this is the.
Oh, come on! If you watch a character reveal trailer,
that's different.
You can't tell me that that's not exciting.
But 40 minutes of like doing an up B.
Oh, sure.
And it's like,
sure. I'll give you if they go through the moveset for 30 minutes, but you can at least appreciate in the first 5 minutes why it's exciting.
Banjo!
Animal Crossing is like, and there's new furniture.
Yeah.
And there's like it's not, if you're not already invested, it's not going to get you invested.
So whereas
that new couch is not exciting to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could be if I played the game. I don't know.
Well, the big controversy. What are you guys' thoughts on like the save data backup? And I saw the little like note that they put at the bottom, which is actually subsequently changed. So this is one of the games that won't be included in their save data backup. I'm pretty sure they're going to cite
at launch.
Well, yeah, at launch. They said that. So what they said in the direct was like, okay, say your shit breaks, your Nintendo breaks, one time will we allow you to, recover that data. And because a lot of people were kind of screaming about it when it was like, I don't know, a month or something ago, where they basically just said like, oh, this isn't going to support save, whatever you call it, like backup saves.
Backup,
And then everyone's like, oh, we want more information. We want more information. And they like lightly said like, oh, don't worry, we'll have something more to share about that in the future. And they showed this thing, and they're like, oh, well, it can happen once. And then they changed the verbiage that was at the bottom of the slide. Long story short, it just said like more information is going to be released in the future. Like, it seems like they don't know exactly how they want to like approach it besides what they said like with that.
It's so weird.
Yeah, Nintendo, why can't you get online right? Nintendo can't get their shit together with online.
I mean,
shit.
it's kind of like
it's par for the course. It's sad to say.
It's just normal Nintendo, dude. It's just frustrating. It's just what it means to be a Nintendo fan.
Like I heard Smash online is a terrible experience.
It depends.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a terrible experience. I play on a wired connection.
You need a wired
connection. And I play mostly 1-to-1 battles, and I typically do not have any issues. Like I'd say one out of 20 matches I get some lag. Okay. I mean, it's obviously not like a local game, but if you're unless you're a competitive high level Smash player, you're not going to notice.
The other thing I'm wondering too is what their backend. I mean, okay, again, as I'm a software guy, so
yeah.
I wonder what their backend netcode is like. There's
hamsters on a wheel,
like
man.
a middleware.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just 2 hamsters rotating on a wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, pretty
just
much.
Enough to get it by.
Right, because Street Fighter did something called they used this open source middleware called, I think it's called GGPO, and it's a really robust backend netcode.
Street Fighter 5.
Terrible. They didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, okay. I was gonna say Street Fighter is like notorious for shitty netcode.
Right,
yeah.
but 4 did, and it's still. I played the other day with somebody from like stateside actually, so 6,000 miles away, and there was some input lag, but like it wasn't a mess like 5 was. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next big news segment title, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. It's been rated in Korea, which is usually a sign of that shit's dropping like sometime in the near future. They usually hold off on...
Yes.
Yeah, they wait for ratings because they know like sometimes it's even before the reveal of the game, like you have to get the game rated. But the moment they do that, everybody's going to know, like because it becomes like more public knowledge. Well, over here, I think in the States, it's not. Like, I think there's something...
What's the release date for that? Is there even a release
date? Summer 2020.
TVA?
Whoa. I think they said, like, just sometime in the summer, and that's a wide range, and some people are like, oh, rumors are pointing towards May. Other people are like, it could be late. We don't know, but maybe this will be signaling closer to the May, which would be really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
Did you play the original, John?
Yeah, I did, and I'm sad to say that like I bought Chronicles 2, and it's a good game, but I think the first one is better. I think that like the original on the Wii and everything. I played it on the Wii.
Yeah.
I was gonna pull the trigger on the 3DS version until I found out they're gonna make this definitive edition.
Yeah.
So, the Monado, dude. I love that sword.
I like the combat from 2 better, and there's some parts of the first story. I think over time I've kind of like come to terms with it, but I think the ending of 1 like really rubbed me the wrong way the first time I saw it. I was like, this is too much, right? But it's been a few years since I've played it, and I think I've kind of like come around to it and be like, all right, I think this makes sense. I get what they're going for. But the one thing that always bothered me, even when I played it on Wii, were the low polygon faces, dude. The faces look
yeah.
And so that's the one thing. If someone can play this game today, the definitive edition, with like really high resolution models, it will make a huge difference in your enjoyment.
I'm looking forward to that so much, man. Like I really did.
You didn't play the first one, right, Jake?
I played at your place for like an hour or something.
The intro. Like you don't get shit. You don't know anything about the game.
So I'm blank on it. I really did like the second one. I mean, that was early on in the Switch's life cycle, December of 2017. I think that launched, and it was like a highlight for me. It's one of my favorite games, like on the Switch. The combat was really intuitive, like really deep.
Intuitive,
not intuitive. The opposite. Whatever is like really difficult. Really, like I think I've said in a different podcast. Like you have tutorials like 20 hours in. Like you're still going through, hey, this is how you do this thing, and and I know Brandon, you guys have both played like the beginning one, so you probably know like the topple smash, the like different things that you got to do. I had no idea, so I'm like, what the hell is this, and that's like what you need to do to get that health bar down on like an enemy, and then you have to do the chain orb things, break the orbs.
Yeah, shit's crazy. Yeah, and that's such a cool system.
Yeah. But my problem, as an aside, my problem with tutorials 20 hours in is that it lulls you into thinking that you're still going to have another 80 hours ahead of you, and you're going to have this full game ahead of you. And then all of a sudden, 10 hours later, the game's finished.
Dude, that's a 70-hour game.
Honestly, though, games that do that, it's typically like a late game mechanic, like a new transformation. Like if you go, like Jake, I'm sure there was a tutorial when you went Super Saiyan in Dragon Ball.
Not in this one. Oh, okay,
that's the kind of thing, though. It's like, oh, you now have a new Super Saiyan level, and you're like, oh shit. But that's like, it's typically not like game-changing thing.
Oh, okay. So it's late game shit. It's not really like
basic. Right. I think that's the one clarification I'd make on the 20-hour tutorial.
And I think I put like 70 hours or so into that game. So 20 hours in for tutorial, like I think it's on par for like how expanded that combat system is.
Yeah,
I would say so. Like, I mean, I was surprised.
Well, and then, again, what's cool about it, it's paced well that they continue to add to the combat system.
Yeah.
So, like, as the story can progress, it's like, oh, here's this new little wrinkle to the mechanics. Like, even probably like the 70-80% mark of the game, it's like, here's this new mechanic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Jake.
So the thing with that is, like, you don't have to memorize that. You can skip all the tutorials. Like, you can just engage an enemy, hit the buttons whenever they're active. Like you can just do that, but it'll take you way longer to kill an enemy, unless I would say like in late game stuff, like you'll die, unless you grind like ridiculously. But if you actually take the time to sit there, look up like, okay, how does this shit work? Like what's the order I'm supposed to do it in? Like how do I kill this guy the quickest? Like, wow, this is pretty deep. But the last thing I wanted to bring up for news is, you guys probably saw this, Sony's been opting out of a lot this year, so they're not going to E3. They didn't do it last year. They don't feel the need. We kind of had a little talk about this in a previous podcast. They're also skipping out on the Game Developers Conference and PAX East this year, citing the coronavirus as like the outbreak is kind of like their major concern. They were actually supposed to showcase The Last of Us 2 at Game Developers Conference. It's like a demo of it or something like that, a new demo. So that's not going to happen.
I think at PAX East,
Yeah, and like the big thing is, it's like, I mean, for me, say Last of Us 2, I don't care what they show. I'm gonna be playing that game. It's coming out in May. 3 more months, so like it's not a big deal to me. I guess it might be a little bit bigger deal if you've already like created travel plans and like you were planning to go specifically for that, and you find out now. But then at the same time, it's like they have a reason, like they have a pretty decent reason they're trying to avoid.
I think it'd be pretty silly to go to an event just to play a demo of a game that comes out in a few months. I don't know.
In this case, if it was something like a year down the road, like I really wanted to go to TGS last year just to play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Like that was like a really big goal of mine, but then like as we show up,
Lines
like
are nuts,
it was impossible. We showed up and they said nope, booked for the day, and that was like opening. Like wow, that fucking that sucks.
I mean, you are in Japan,
yeah.
I mean, I think the one thing I'll say about this is I think it's hard to fault it. I don't fault them for not going. I don't think we should fault a company for not going to an event for health reasons. I think it's like, of all valid concerns, it's probably like the most valid concern. Right. So I don't think we can be upset about that. I think it's unfortunate that it happens to also be in a year when they're not going to E3.
That was something I wanted to bring up. So no E3, no Game Developers Conference, no PAX East. They're not doing much this year, like public facing. They went to CES and all they did was a logo reveal. Like that was in January.
Yeah, but at that time they probably expected to go to GDC and PAX East. I think that's just like, I don't fault them for this because I genuinely do believe they were intending to go to those conferences, and it's just like a global health crisis, so they're not going to go to something if their employees are at risk. And they're also just quick. Second note, they're also leading the console war, so it's not like they need to go.
Yeah.
Right. I think, isn't this emblematic of, what the state of the times are? I mean, nowadays you don't really need a gigantic... I mean, we have a back end of constantly 24/7 connected information with
Yeah.
live streaming and whatnot. What's the point of going to
Yeah.
a show where you would have like these large, reveals and whatnot? Because
Yeah.
I think that the way Nintendo's doing it, I mean, they're knocking it out of the park. They're doing exactly what what is appropriate for the 21st century world is just doing everything online, just live streaming it. They don't have to
That
spend
was our war cry last
millions
week.
of dollars.
Yeah. I mean, Sony's copying them now with State of Play.
Yeah.
Right.
Microsoft has
So,
Inside Xbox.
Yeah.
I think the biggest losers and the biggest people to think about the future of themselves is the ESA. Like, what are they going to do with this conference to make it feel, relevant in the 21st century? At least with Game Developers Conference, that it has a reason. The Game Developers Conference is there for developers to share, techniques on programming and whatnot. But E3 has kind of lost its status as a trade show and become a consumer spectacle when the consumer spectacle is now all online.
Right.
Yeah, this was created 25 years ago when what would happen there was released to, like, obviously the news journalists, all those people that were there, thrown into magazines, fed to us, like, as times of so as times have like changed, obviously it's not as relevant. But
like, I think the way that E3 can do it is that maybe it's a case of too little, too late, because it became a fan event in the last couple of years only.
Yeah.
Whereas PGS
they tried E for All, which I think was late 2010s or like early.
Oh, I think I do remember that. Yeah, I think I do remember that. But I mean, they should have done it like with the way they did it with TGS, just go all in as a consumer show on the second, third, and fourth days from the get-go. But yeah, it just hurts, and there's no. They're still gonna have those. They're still gonna have panels, right? Because that's the only real thing that. Why wait 3 hours to play a demo?
Panels at PAX East and GDC.
Right. So go hard on the panels. That's one of the reasons why I would go to a show like that. I'm not going to wait 4 hours just to play a demo of a game that's going to come out 6 months later.
Right. Yeah.
So, but the panels are super informative, super insightful. I would definitely go to like a GDC or a PAX East or whatever for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's move into the war cry, just the final segment. That pretty much covers it for like news the past week. But what do you guys think? Is virtual reality development currently viable? This is actually coming via courtesy of John, I believe, right? Didn't you come up with this?
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember.
I think I threw this one out there a couple weeks ago, but we're gonna wait.
Oh, that's right. We're gonna wait for like Darren or whatever, but like couldn't make it this week. But we've been talking about this a lot. Like me and John, we've got headsets, and I know Brandon's like thinking about it. But this week's war cry is going to be: should developers aim for longer AAA experiences or a shorter, more like experimental games? Will they get a better investment at this stage of virtual reality? Should companies expand further into this market or focus on developing for traditional platforms?
If I may, my opinion on this is kind of weird because it's shifted, right?
Yeah.
I used to think that VR was dead for the longest time. Not since the beginning. I had hopes in the beginning and then realized quickly, oh crap, maybe it's just a gimmick like 3D was. I still bought into it because I picked up PSVR when it was super cheap and on sale and everything. Still great games for it. But I didn't really think it was still viable at that point until the Quest came out. And then I realized the problem with VR is that you're still tethered. But once I don't know, I may be wrong on this, but I think untethering yourself from a PC or a console is one of the greatest things that's happened to VR. And it could be the last boost that it needs to actually become somewhat viable. I mean, we've seen it with the sales figures recently. The Quest is selling like hotcakes in some parts, some retailers you can't even find it. So if it doesn't take off here with the Quest, which it is taking off as we're seeing with sales figures, then I think that's it for VR. But I mean, with the way that the Quest is untethered, it might be viable now. I don't know. My opinion is it's so weird because I used to be on one side of the fence and now I'm on the other side. Completely.
But viable, I think the heart of the question is what type of games should developers make? Like, should they be investing a lot of time in a really long, lengthy AAA style experience, or is it,
you know,
I
something
think
small
I
experience?
think from what you're seeing, in terms of like best sellers on the Quest, small, you know, almost mobile type short experiences, I think are doing very well, with Sports Scramble, with Beat Saber. You know, there's no like 50-hour campaign with those games, and I like it because I can just sip on the Quest, do 3 or 4 levels on like, you know, Robo Recall or whatever, take it off, I'm done, I'm good. I mean, because there's a comfort thing too with these VR systems. After like 3 or 4 hours, you know, I mean, battery life aside, you know, you start to get uncomfortable a little bit.
Yeah, right.
So, but I mean, this may all be, we may all be proven wrong by Steam here in a minute when Alex comes out. So, who knows? But my opinion is that it's viable if you have short experiences on the Quest, like mobile type.
With the comfort thing, if in the Oculus store, you probably noticed that. Well, I know at least I do on the desktop. Whenever I go into Oculus store, there's a comfort level associated to every game. They let you know,
right?
Like, hey, you know, or one, is this game better seated or standing? Comfort level, is it moderate? Is it like intense or whatever that category is?
Whoa.
Like, is it going to be a lot of movement? It's going to be uncomfortable. So like, it kind of gives you like a heads up on you're probably not going to play this game for very long once you boot it up. But kind of
yeah, just as a personal note, like I find the VR games that I play the most are actually the games that don't have the full-on story and campaigns. The only exception is Astrobot for PlayStation VR, because it's such a good game in and of itself. But I mean, I picked up Moss and I played like the first 2 levels, but like again, you know, the comfort, and I can't see myself just sitting down and being in this game for like 3-4 hours. I don't know. That's why I end up playing the ones that are short the most on VR. So.
I'd say for like the AA kind of experiences, or even less than that, just more of like an experimental type thing to get you into VR, or AAA, I'd say I would do, as like a developer, whatever's required to initially increase like the user base. You know, like as we get with consoles, they do take a hit. Majority of consoles do take a hit just to be able to sell their software. VR is a harder sell. Like, no commercial is going to get you interested in it. No talking about it is going to get you interested. You have to put that headset on. You have to experience it. So it needs to be cheap. It needs to be accessible, kind of like what John's saying. Like, I really do like my Rift. I bought that well before the Quest was even a thing. But I have 3 sensors in my home. Like, I have a wire attached to me. I've, you know, got to optimize my play space. Like, there's a lot that goes into what I got to do a setup, which I'm fully committed to doing. Plus, you got to have a beefy PC. John can just hold this thing on. He's good to go. Like, once you remove some of those barriers, like, it will help. And then playing on with that, I don't think like these AAA experiences, Asgard's Wrath, 40 hours, Stormland, 40-hour like gameplay campaigns. Like, I love that they're there. I love that they're on there as an option, but there's not enough people playing right now to where they're going to be turning a huge profit. You know, like, I'd like to see the sales figures from Insomniac about Stormland. You know, just that's there's not a lot of people like on VR at the moment, with the exception of PSVR. I don't know if you guys have seen, I think Sony it might have been CES, they dropped that slide and they're like, here's how many hardware units we've sold at PSVR. I think the figure was like 5 million. And they're the only like super front facing, showing people like what they're selling for, like Oculus doesn't say their sales figures and stuff. 5 million headsets that's pretty sizable for like Sony. I would say that's a success. And I think that's why they're, you know, already kind of touting. They said like, we are looking towards the next generation of VR, PSVR 2, whatever they're going to have down the pipes. Like, I think Sony might be like the either future proponent for it, or they're going to be like a small aside, and then like some other spin-off of like Oculus Quest will do better, where it's like better performance, longer battery life, something like that. Oculus Quest was like a big thing for VR. I think like John was saying, like, it's starting to sell out everywhere. The Valve Index is sold out everywhere in anticipation of Half-Life. So 2019 was a really good year for VR. I think the Quest was really, really something that helped it, because people just like, oh, no cords, no computer, no cameras, no You just put this thing on, and I can go play Robo Recall. I can play Beat Saber. I can do all these like Vader Immortal experiences, like, and then get those people in, hook them with those small experiences. You play $10, you can square off against Vader. Do that, It's like, oh, okay, that's gonna appeal to a huge Star Wars fan base, But yeah, what do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, so this is an interesting. I think from a developer perspective, I completely understand the hesitation to dive in and develop a really meaty AAA experience. I think, to your point, I mean, it's selling well, but there's still not a huge install base. But I think the counter to that is what I think VR really needs to be a standout hit is more than just those popcorn style experience video games. Like, you need a really steak dinner style video game, something that people are going to talk about to create buzz. And I think hopefully that's, fingers crossed, what Half-Life Alex is trying to do.
Everybody thinks that's going to be like if this fails.
I mean, think about how long has VR been in the market? What, 5 years? I mean, 4 or 5 years.
Something like that.
It's been on the market for a significant length of time, and we're still, it's selling out, but the install base is still not high enough. And I think, from my perspective, I mean, I've only played your VR headset. I'm only kind of looking at it from outside the view.
Yeah, you've played a lot, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I have.
You've played a pretty good amount.
Yeah, I've played a good amount on your VR headset. I think my perspective is like, the games are these cheaper, smaller experiences, and even things like Beat Saber, like, it's kind of fun, but it's running into this flavor of the month issue where it's really cool for a little bit, and I get that people don't want to spend a lot of money, but are we really going to look back on 5 years? Like, how many games can we look back at the launch of VR and say, wow, that's really stood the test of time, really something that we can continue to play and hold up as a game that is like one of the greats, right? We can do that with some of the initial console launches. We can do that with some of the bigger handhelds and things that people have spent the time to put the budget in. And I think I applaud people like Insomniac that are putting the time to make these bigger games, because that's what I think the industry needs to really propel the market forward. And the other thing I'll argue, the question is it financially viable? It's kind of this weird situation where if you're one of the only people doing something that people are craving for, people are looking for, again, I'd love to see the sales numbers, but it's likely that a lot of people are drawn to those Astrobot style experiences because there's few and far between. So yes, it takes a lot of money to develop something like an Astrobot, or another example, Resident Evil 7, which was VR was a really good component of that game. I'm sure, because there are few and far between style games like that, that really helps propel the medium and give a lot more sense of credibility to these headsets, rather than, oh, let me put my Oculus Quest on and play like a Candy Crush style game for 5 minutes. Because the last thing I want is for people to liken VR gaming to just like a mobile Candy Crush style experience, because I think there's so much more potential there, and I don't think it's going to get serious momentum until you can get those serious heavyweight games out there.
Well, that's the catch-22 there, like, kind of like what you're saying. Like, so if you're a developer and you really want to do this, and maybe that's what's necessary, like, to make people remember VR, hook more people into it, but there's a huge chance you're going to take a massive loss, because would you develop for, say, the Dreamcast, something that didn't sell like overly well like initially, or something, or the Sega Saturn or something like that, like the install, or the Wii U? That's a better, more recent example.
Oh yeah, sure.
A lot of developers jumped off board for that, and that was a big Nintendo like console, we'll say, like their new console. It's like, would you want to spend the time, resources, energy, everything to develop this huge AAA budget game that's going to see, I don't know the full figures of whoever's on, like, say, an Oculus platform or Steam, but
well, the one thing, just to quickly interject, I think developers should try to make their VR games available on every VR headset possible.
Yeah, they're trying to segment like the console market. It's not good.
You can't segment at this stage.
No.
You really need to be all for one. Like, it's too early. There's not enough people. To your point, it's not going to be financially viable to do that.
You can always do the third-party apps or whatever, kind of like I think we talked about Revive.
Revive on.
But I know, like, then there's always going to be compatibility issues you run into because this wasn't developed for that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really done that, but because a lot of what's out there is like if I want to play a new game, something I've been interested in, if it's not on the Oculus Store, which is very rare, it will be on Steam, and my headset is compatible with Steam VR. Like I can just click the Steam VR button, I'm in, and like I can use it. But I don't know. There used to be more like Vive exclusives at launch around, let's say 2015, 2016, maybe 2016 timeframe.
They're coming to it from a console mindset, but the difference is consoles don't cost $1,000-$2,000 to get up and running.
That's huge. Yeah. Unless you got a Quest.
One thing I want to say before we close out on that. God forbid that they start putting microtransactions in these small VR experiences.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna. Oh my god! Man.
If I start seeing, it's gonna. I can see it happening though.
Of course.
And that's the thing.
Because that's that mobile mindset, right? Where they're making these cheaper games, but they want to hook people and make.
Once they get like foveated rendering in there, I don't know if you guys have like researched this. So foveated rendering is where it's tracking your eyes, and it's only going to render where your eyes are looking at. And
Yikes,
I'm assuming, say you integrate that with some of these microtransactions. Hey, John, you glanced up at this. Single ladies in your area ad for 3 seconds too long. So now the rest of your experience is going to be.
They got you, dude.
I gotta say, I don't want to say.
John's got waifus for days, man. That's what he doesn't want to say.
I'm just saying, like it's going to be there
for days.
There was already the whole like issue with like Facebook. I already unlinked mine just so that like I don't want that experience where everything's linked and you're sharing shit randomly.
We're gonna spiral real quickly if we get into.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it's not a big deal. I've had it like linked like from time to time. Just my big.
No,
thing,
I know. I live and breathe all that stuff.
Yeah. This is Brandon's bread and
we
butter.
could talk another 3 hours with this stuff.
But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see where this goes forward from here. But unless you guys have anything else to interject about the war cry that was interesting, we can wrap up, close up. Got nothing?
I think that's good.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you all. Thank you guys for joining us for this podcast. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing to continue listening to all our content. Nice to have you guys. Thanks for joining us today. See ya.
Peace.